Welcome to the VibeVault, your go-to talk show dedicated to sharing powerful stories of resilience and triumph with your host, Chris Carrier. We spotlight individuals who have faced life-altering struggles and emerged stronger, overcoming health challenges, or maybe they're rising from humble beginnings to achieve extraordinary success. These are people who have overcome great odds to find their success. So please welcome the host of the VibeVault, Chris Carrier.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the VibeVault. Today, we have an intriguing story. Our guest today is a gentleman who actually, when he was 15 years old, blew himself up and lived to tell the story. Today, he is now an entrepreneur. He helps over 600 Amazon sellers start and scale their Amazon businesses, and he's completely turned his entire world around. Let's welcome Eamonn I forgot their last name. Mccaffrey. There we go. Sorry, Eamonn. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on the show. It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. So as I opened the story, I was telling everybody that when you were a young man, you kind of exploded your butt. So let's start back in the day, because I just want to get to the meat and potatoes here. Let's start with what the frig happened early in your life and how did that everything change from there? So let's start with the beginning of that story.
Yeah, cool. So I was 15 at the time. It was the day after Halloween, and we had fireworks left over. And, being a young sort of teenager, rather than just letting off rockets and going, oh, pretty lights, all I wanted to do is make the biggest bang possible. So as Canadians and Americans would call them firecrackers, I was just getting them and blowing them up, putting them under steel buckets for a loud bang, and putting them in the ground, blowing up clay. And I thought, well, that's if one does that size of an explosion, if I put several of them together, it'd be a bigger explosion.
Oh no.
So I effectively made what you would classify as a pipe bomb, where I got a lump of plastic piping. I cut open a whole load of bangers, tipped the gunpowder out of them, and was in the process of putting it all back together and putting a fuse in it, and it exploded in my face, literally. People seem to find it surprising that this happened in my bedroom and not outside, but as I try and tell people, it's cold outside this November, so it's cold and wet out there. So I was in my bedroom where it was nice and warm, but the gunpowder exploded. It cost me some burns, not too bad, but it cost me my left eye as well. So my left eye is a prosthesis, and then there was the inevitable recovery after that, learning to live with that, learning to try and use just the one eye, because I was getting you were still getting signals from the optic nerve and there was nothing there. So I was trying to overcome that. And then because it took me so long to deal with that, then wasn't great at sleeping. Lack of sleep meant I was incredibly tired, which meant I was off school for quite a long time. So within the UK, that was my first year of doing my GCSEs, which meant my Christmas results for that first year were Fs, E's and Fs all across the board. So then I was playing catch up on that one. But it's funny, I don't think about it much anymore. The last little while with the change in weather and tiredness, the eye irritates me every so often. But apart from that, it's not something I think about on a daily basis.
Of course. Yeah, it's because you've become accustomed to it. But when it did happen, how did it change your life and your self-worth, your self-value? What happened there?
Honestly, I'd say sort of at the time, there was very few people I could blame for this. So it wasn't that I was out messing about with friends and one of them did it. It wasn't that, anybody was at fault or anybody could have done anything different. I was very adamant that I got access to the fireworks. It wasn't as if they were readily set in front of me. I made a very conscious effort to get access to them, and I took it upon myself to do the entire thing solely myself. So it was incredibly hard when you realize that I was completely responsible and, well, tough. You couldn't say, "Oh, well, me, it was somebody else's fault and I'm a victim here." So immediately what I really needed to do was to try and compensate. And it's something that I'm still doing to this day, where I'm like, I sort of put myself at a disadvantage. So now I have to work extra hard to try and compensate for that. So that was the biggest change in me. That it was like, right, I have put myself in a serious setback. Now I need to compensate myself, because there is no financial compensation going to be coming from claiming off any
Right?
insurance company. So it wasn't that I was getting the big payday payout of a personal injury claim. There was none of that nonsense. So if I wanted to compensate off this, it had to be me doing it.
Your mindset is freaking incredible from the beginning. And here's why I say that, because at 15 years old, if I got a bad haircut and looked ridiculous, I would have melted into myself and felt, horrifying. And it would have taken me until that haircut grew back before I got my self-esteem back. But you blew off an eye and you didn't
Yeah.
lose self-esteem. You didn't blame anybody. You just rolled with it. Like, that's incredible how you could do that. That's not a skill many people have. You were just born that way. That's brilliant.
Well, I wanted to blame other people, but there was literally nobody else that I could make any sort of tangible link to go, it's their fault. So I was like, well, you got to just suck us up and get on with it.
Right? So, okay, so now you're sucking it up and getting on with it. So, what is life looking like for you at, 20 years old, 18 years old? You're out of high school, you're now moving forward. What does that look like for you?
So, after that initial incident, things sort of went back to normal. But I always sort of felt that I was sort of at a disadvantage. I'm quite privileged in the fact that my close circle of friends are incredibly well accomplished. So much
Mm.
so that one friend made a joke a couple of years ago that he was going to get his PhD. So I would be the only member of the circle of friends that wasn't a doctor. Um, so all my close circle of friends are doctors, barristers, medical consultants. They're incredibly well accomplished now. And I always felt that I was the weak link in the chain.
Okay.
So again, there I was always sort of trying to push myself on to be their equal, to sort of be seen to be them. Because when we were at school, the academic grades proved that they were getting higher results than me, so that was quite evident. And then sort of when I was come out of university, I was then sitting going, right, I don't want to follow the herd. So Northern Ireland, back sort of the time of the recession, 2008, even still today, it was a big thing of, go to Australia, big money to be made working in Australia. I was like, but everybody's going to Australia, so I want to go somewhere else. So while I
Mm.
never did it, my whole thing was I wanted to go to Saudi and work or somewhere like that, because if everybody's going there, I want to go somewhere else.
And that
So
worked for
that was
you.
sort of, well, I never actually went to Saudi. Series of unfortunate events. Every time I tried to go, something sort of came in my path, and I don't think it was ever meant to be for me.
Well,
Um, but the attitude was there of I want to do something different. Hence why I set up a business rather than a traditional 9 to 5.
I like that you said that, because that's just it. If you're trying to go a certain way and everything keeps getting in your path and it keeps preventing you from going it, maybe because that's not your path. You're not meant to go where everybody else is going. You have your own path somewhere else. And I love that you saw that. And that's what so many people are afraid of. It's like, oh my God, I can't be like everybody else. What's wrong with me? You never thought once, what's wrong with me? Instead, you're like, this is awesome. This is a great opportunity, right? Like, this is my opportunity to forge my own self. I think that way too. I don't want to follow what everybody else is doing. I want to forge my own way. So when you're forging your own way, what did everybody else, because now you're surrounded by all these accomplished people following the same path, what did they all think about you, your parents, your friends, going down that road?
I did get a little bit of pushback at times of, why can't you just go get a regular job? Why can't you just do this? Um, I suppose after my accident, my father was very much of the opinion that I should go and become a classroom teacher, get a nice little clean, safe, easy 9 to 5 job, which in the end up I did do for a while, and it
It's
just
not you.
wasn't for me. It didn't pan out. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, I always was that sort of person that just didn't quite fit the mold. I'm not an incredibly big maverick. I'm not going to say, I'm any sort of trailblazer or stuff like that, but I just do have I like to try and go slightly against the grain of social norms of going, because I'm like, if it's not something that I really want to do, I'll be like, nah, I'm not doing it. Stuff that. Like within life, you've got an incredible amount of free will if you're completely comfortable with the consequences. If you're
Absolutely.
comfortable with the consequences, you can do whatever you want in the world.
So did your mom and dad teach you that? Who taught you that?
I have no idea. I don't know, 37 years about, I've just sort of come to a couple of conclusions, but yeah. Like
Your parents clearly taught you some really great lessons and upbringing to have this kind of mindset where you are. Because listen, even just for me, just catching illness, like I got sick, but even just getting sick, that was enough to knock me on my ass, take away my self-esteem, do all of that stuff. And I had loving parents next to me, but their mindset wasn't as powerful as it needed to be for what I was going through. So they couldn't teach me what I needed. What do you think your parents taught you that helped you to get through all of that?
There was one comment that has stuck with me my entire life. So back when I was about 10 or 11, so within Northern Ireland, there is what is referred to as the 11 plus or transfer test. And it's an academic test that is done leaving from primary school into secondary school. And based on how you perform within that assessment, it qualifies you whether or not you can get into grammar school education or just a mainstream secondary education.
Okay.
And you could go into a lot of discussions onto the merits of each, but every other one of my siblings had went into the grammar school, and I was the last one coming through. And I can still remember my father saying, "The roof over your head, there's food on the table, and you've got a bed. We can only do so much to provide for you. You're the only one that can pass that exam. You have nothing else to worry about in life right now. Only pass that exam. That is your responsibility." And it always stuck to me that no matter how much people want to provide for you, they can only do so much. They can only provide you the tools, the resources, and the opportunities. And it is up to you to then go and do it yourself. And it's the same within my life that there's been so many times where I've been afforded opportunities, but they only open the door. They only give you maybe a start in the right direction. It's up to you then to do what you can of it. And I'm not saying that in everything in my life, I've just completely turned my hand to it and been absolutely amazing. And I'm sure there's people that would have had the same opportunities and did far better. But I'm quite happy with what I've done with so far.
I think that's fantastic. And that's like a brilliant lesson that your dad taught you, because that's 100% true. In my practice, we get a lot of people who come to us who want to be saved. They do not want to do the work to save themselves. And I don't think their parents ever taught them that, yes, you can get all the tools, you could have all the help in front of you, but unless you actually take action, nothing's going to change. And that's where a lot of people are missing in there. But you got that right away from the start. And that's absolutely, I mean, kudos to your dad. Kudos to your dad for saying that to you. I don't know if he knew how powerful that is, but that's an incredibly powerful message. So what do you teach your kids now?
Well, my kids are 2 and 3 weeks old. So at the minute, I'm trying to teach them to use an inside voice. But yeah, it will be something I'll be trying to instill in them, that no matter how much I can provide for them, there's only so much you can ever do. Yeah. And it is the decisions that they make.
And to be fair, I'm 50 years old and I'm still trying to learn how to use my inside voice. So it might be a big lesson for everyone. We're going to go to break right away, guys. We've only got a few more minutes, but when we come back, we're actually going to talk more about how you got your mindset and your future on track, and how you got everything rolling and what it all looks like for you. Because listen, you put an incredible life together, and I want everybody to hear how you did it. So when we come back, that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense Radio Show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
All right, we are back to the Vibe Vault with Eamonn Mccaffrey. I got it right this time. Woo!
Thank you.
I am so terrible with people's names. I don't even know why I try sometimes. Anyways, we're back and we're talking mindset. Listen, you have had a hard start for those who missed the beginning. Eamonn kind of blew his butt up when he was 15 years old, accidentally, of course. It was not a purposeful thing. And he had to learn how to come back and change his life and change his mindset and to get forward. Now we've gotten to the point where he's off to school, doing differently from everybody else, taking a whole new path, carving out his own route in life, which is the freaking hardest thing to do. I'm going to say that out loud because literally when you go against the grain, when you go against what everybody else is doing, you have everybody else looking at you side-eyed. And that's sometimes hard to take. Listen, I like it. I like being side-eyed, but some people don't like that feeling. Now for you, once you've started your path, you've started your goal, you're on your new training. Let's go from there. What happened after that?
So I would sort of say that I didn't quite just do that straight out the gate from school. So I took a very safe path. Okay. I went to university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so didn't get into my first choice of course. Wanted to do law, didn't get into the course. Thought, right, I'll go and do geography, transfer over at the midterm and get into the course. By the time I got there and that was an option for me, I seen what the law course looked like. I'm like, that's not for me. Again, I was always sort of wondering so between second and third year university, I actually went and studied in America for a year. Nice. I did an exchange program and studied at DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana, which was a phenomenal experience. Got to see 30 out of the 50 states in a 10-month period. Like, I wasn't in America long, but I got about, like I really did, and had some amazing experiences. Came back from that, finished out my degree, but got a job very quickly doing recruitment. From there, I decided what I do and started a master's in communications part-time at my university again. And then from there, decided still didn't really know what to do. Parents were sort of saying, teaching's still a viable option because I come from a family of either teachers or nurses. So I had a lot of sort of family going, this is a good career choice. So then I went and did my PGC training to become a teacher. Did that, came back home, got a job in the meantime while I was trying to get a teaching job. And at the time in Northern Ireland, trying to get a teaching job was incredibly challenging. So I was going around every September, you were leaving in CVs to schools. I then was doing substitute work, so a day here, a week there, a couple of months here.
Mm.
And I did that for several years, and that was incredibly hard for me. While I loved the actual job, the having to actually go cap in hand every day, can I have a day's work? Can I have a week to different schools? And that was what really got me. Was I seen so many other people getting the job that I felt I was qualified or more worthy for. And then you were saying, well, they only got that for they're related to somebody else in the school, that there's nepotism, there's this.
Mm.
Um, they're quite well in with local sports. You only got it because they're a popular local sports person or whatever. And it really irritated me. And finally, one day, while I was working as a teacher, I was also working as a nursing assistant. Like I said, come from a family of teachers and nurses. I dipped my hand in both.
Mm-hmm.
Guy in hospital was showing me how to sell on Amazon, and I was trying it. And from the first sale, I just find it incredibly addictive. The money's great, yeah, I like the money, but it's the game of it for me. I really just the process just really appealed to me, and I finally just decided, you know what, stuff this. I don't want to be responsible on some for somebody. I don't want somebody else to be responsible for my finances. At this stage, I was coming 30. I was sitting going, right, other people are buying houses, getting married, they're getting promotions in work. When I'm sitting going, I have none of that stuff. And I can sit and go, it's their fault, it's that person's fault, it's this. And I'm like, you know what, stuff it. I'm taking ownership of all this. I'm setting up my own business. Don't know how it's going to work out. I'm just going to go for this and stuff it all. So set up the business, like by no means an overnight success. I was still working at it part time while doing the nursing and teaching up until 2020. I decided January 2020 was a good time to build a house, get married, and go full time self employed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, but that was a hell of a year. Um, yeah, it didn't. But it was
Your delivery is fantastic.
but it was incredibly freeing because you weren't then standing waiting on somebody else to give you a day's work.
Yeah.
So there was no guaranteed income. Like there was times that the finances were a hell of a lot less than if I had been in full time teaching. But it felt incredibly a lot more freeing that I wasn't then having to, try and kiss up to a principal so that they bring me back next week for another couple of days work.
Right.
It
So
then also meant that, yeah.
Sorry, are you married with children at this point?
No. So this is the thing. So I started Amazon August 2017. Plan was, well, there was no plan at that point. Started that, just going to go out on my own. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
I'm still then working as a substitute teacher, working as a nursing assistant, and applying for jobs, applying for this, that, and the other. Amazon was starting to scale up at a very small level, still, I have to say, because there was times when I was maybe working 5 days a week in the school and doing maybe 2 nights at a weekend in a hospital. So it wasn't unusual for me to punch in 100, 110 hours in a week. So the length of time I had available for my business was minimal at times. So came up to 2018, September 2000, and around about August 2018, and I had secured a teaching role in Saudi, and I was good to go to get on a plane at the end of August. 15th of August, I woke up with an almighty headache. Didn't think much about it. Took some painkillers, went on with my day. That was a Sunday. The following day, I had a job interview in Belfast. Went to the job interview, did my best in that, and came out of it and drove straight right around to the hospital. It was like, this is not just a regular headache. I've got nothing to do. And because it was sort of close to where my eye was, I was like, there's got to be a link. So I went straight to the eye clinic and was like, I'm just going to sit here to just fix this. So they gave me some steroid drops and was like, there's bugger all wrong with you, go home. 2 days later, I landed back down again, spoke to the consultant this time, and he's like, in fairness, I had to give you the CMI drops. There's nothing wrong with you, go home. And this was, I was barely able to get out of bed, incredibly sensitive to sunlight. Back down a week or two later, and I was like, right, we're going to do an emergency CT scan or MRI, CT, I think. And I was like, cool. And he's like, this takes a while. I'm like, I'll pay private. I have to be in a plane in a week's time to go to Saudi, clock's ticking. And he's like, could be £500 to do that. I'm like, give me 10 minutes to get to a cash machine. It's not how it works. I'll refer you for an emergency one, which he later told me should have taken 3 to 4 days. I was back in his office within 2 hours, haven't had got it, because when he's handed me the referral, he meant me to go give it to his secretary. I just walked down to the oncology department, walked into a CT sheet, wrapped the door. They opened the door. I walked in, like, hi, I have an emergency CT. Let's go. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, I've nowhere else to be. I'll just sit until you've got 5 minutes. I got it there and then. Went back up to the consultant, wrapped the secretary's office. I'm like, listen, I don't care if I have to sit here to 10 o'clock tonight. I've nowhere else to be. And the nurse was like, well, I've got a home to go to, even if you don't. So consultant seen me straight away, and he was like, right, that was crazy. I managed to do that, but that's showing nothing. We've no idea. You're just going to have to sit yourself down. Your body just needs a rest. And it did. It took me to November to fully recover. Was on the phone daily to the recruitment agency at that stage, and they were like, we know what you're going out to. You're not physically fit for this. Stay at home and you can come out at Christmas. So I was like, right, okay. Literally could barely see where I was going because I was that sensitive to sunlight. And got a job the next day in a local school for a temporary contract. I was there 2 days and I met my now wife. And by the time it came to Christmas and the recruitment agency was going, hey, do you still want to go to Saudi? I'm like, nah, I'm good here for a minute. And so I met her like start of September. And then end of Christmas, the teaching position there stopped. The ones in Saudi were sitting going, hey, we've got a job waiting for you in Saudi. Let's go. And I thought, actually, no. Amazon's starting to pick up. We started building the house a month ago here. I'm going nowhere. I'm just going to go full-time self-employed. So
Isn't this
after Christmas...
fun? I'm loving how the universe set you up for this success. I am loving this. Oh my God. Because literally, had your eye not messed up, you never would have met your wife ever.
100%.
Like, can you imagine how God, if you believe in God, I do, but God loves you. Like, he's like, it's time to gift Eamonn. he sent you your gift. I mean, sure, he sent it through pain, but that's how it works, and people don't get it. Sometimes you got to suffer a little to get a little, and that's what he was doing to you. He made you hurt so that you couldn't go off to do what you wanted to do, so that you had to slow down, so that you got to meet the right person for you. He put you in the right path. And I love that part of that story. That's so brilliant. I also want to point out, by the way, to everybody who's just listened to this, if they didn't hear what I hear, but I heard you just say that you went through a shitload of struggles, a bunch of different job thoughts. You failed and failed repeatedly and kept getting up on your feet. Well, not really failed, but you tried something. It didn't work out for you. You found something new until you found the right thing. And now this Amazon thing, a few years down the road, is starting to pick up and work. And I hope people are hearing this, because it doesn't happen right away. You actually have to work at shit to make it, to get results, and you have to take the time, and it happens in the time it's ready for you, not when you're ready for it. So when we come back, you guys, we're going to talk more. I want to hear more about this story, Mom, because friggin' amazing. I'm so amazed at how life gifted you, aren't you?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about these gifts when we get back, and we're also going to talk about this Amazon career you've got going on. All this in about, 30 seconds, something like that? We'll see you in a minute.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right, we're back. Guys, this is so exciting because, the universe, the way it set me up was by getting me sick. And this is why I'm talking about, you guys, today, how the universe has a way of breaking our hearts before it brings us something great. And so what it did for me is it caused me to get illness so that I would lose my chosen career path, if you will, because it wasn't the right place for me to be. It wasn't where I was supposed to be. I was always supposed to be doing what I'm doing now. And it kind of guided me in that way by causing me to get the illness and go through all these steps, lose everything I had until I find this. And which, PS, by the way, this career, this therapy career that I'm in now, people have been telling me I should be doing it since I was 20 years old. That's a whole 30 years I was fighting it, not wanting to do it because my ego was telling me to do otherwise. And the universe set you up as well so that you met your wife by breaking your heart and not letting you go to a job in a foreign country. So what happened after that?
So that was August, September of 2018, 19, I believe. Jeez, can't remember. So started building my house. I was like, that's it. I want to build a house. I'm going to stay here. Because I didn't have full-time work, it was quite a challenge to get a mortgage, especially on a self-build rather than purchasing. So got that sorted, starting to build my house, doing a lot of work on it myself. As I said, December 19, I decided I was going to go full-time self-employed in the January. And I remember I was not in this room, the room next to it, putting up the ceilings and radio's on and starting to hear talk about COVID. And I'll not get into politics, but Trump had just announced that he was banning all flights from China and everybody was like, this disgrace. And my first thought was, it has to be something pretty serious for him to have been able to justify to do that. This COVID thing, this was back January time, this COVID thing's going to be a bit of a big deal. And from there, I was looking around, listening into it before it was ever an issue locally, while it was still, there's a problem with someone in China. And from that, I started looking into how I could use that to my advantage. So I have been told that I was guilty of profiteering from human misery and suffering, but I was then selling masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, that sort of thing. But what was really bizarre, I went from doing, the sales that I was doing on Amazon to, I had a friend phone me and go, hey, I know you've got equipment. The local government is looking stuff. I'm like, no, there's an entire tendering process. There's a lot of stuff you have to go through to start supplying the government. You can't just phone them up. And she's like, I think right now you can. So I did. I Googled a couple of phone numbers, phoned them up. They're like, give us an email. We'll call you at some point. I'm like, okay, give my details. And that was 3:00. 6:00 that evening, the local police phoned me. We understand you're selling masks. I'm like, is this how they're arresting people now over the phone? And I'm like, yes, I am. Cool. How much for 10,000? And I was like, and I probably shouldn't admit this, on recorded calls and stuff, but my first thought was, how much can I rinse them for? So it was like, it was all new. I hadn't had it. It was the first time, government body and all that. So I was like, So I gave them a price. They didn't come back to me, but every day after that, the phone just kept ringing with government departments, the local government, like national government buildings, Stormont. All the hand sanitizer, all the sterile wipes, all the gloves, and all the masks that went into that building, I provided them. And I was rocking up in my car to deliver them. And then had to lift everything out to check it for bombs, and then I could drive on in. And it was just the most bizarre experience. Nobody on the road and me doing all this. And that just catapulted my business to a different level. So if I wasn't building at the house, I was delivering them. I was then driving to the docks in Dublin, borrowing vans to buy more stock, taking the entirety of the money that I had for the mortgage to buy stock so that I could buy the stock so I could then sell it. And just taking a lot of rather calculated risks that it would pay off. And it did.
I love that.
It put me in my feet. It did very well for me. And I don't want to say, I was so clever, but I knew it was a bubble. I knew that I was still a tiny fish in the grand scheme of things in that pond. And because I was so cautious on it, I got out quick before, I'm still getting offered lorry loads of hand sanitizer for free because there's that much of it knocking about. Yeah. And it did what I needed to do, get in, got out, wasn't greedy on it, and didn't get left holding the bag on a lot of equipment. So it did very well for me. And from that, then I was like, there's no going back to a 9-to-5 now.
No, and you know what? Like you're a true entrepreneur from the start, I think, because you're a risk taker. We've known that since you were 15 years old, playing with bombs in your bedroom. You are a risk taker, and you're meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's what entrepreneurs do. And the fact that you bet on yourself, and listen, you're not the only one. The Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, and what's the gentleman who does Amazon there? They also didn't pay their rent and instead paid for their businesses to grow in hopes that because they believed in themselves. I do the same thing here. Actually, when we started out, I would put all my money in towards my business and not be able to buy food and just hope that, my friends can supply me with food just because I believed in myself so much, and it paid off for me too. Because when you believe in yourself, when you keep pushing, it's going to work. Listen, it may not work the first time. In your case, it did, because right place, right freaking time, right? But if it doesn't work the first time, just pivot a little bit until you find the right thing. For me, it took a couple of years to find my groove to where people I'm finding to resonate with people in my true self, right? Because even for me, when I started my business, I wasn't like when you were trying to do the teacher's job and stuff. I was just looking for work to get a paycheck. I wasn't looking for something that I love to do that set a fire under me. This Amazon stuff sets a fire under you to do it. And this is why you're so successful at it, right?
I love the game of it. Like, the first thing I remember selling was a Corolla coloured in book. And I bought it for £1 in a local sort of pawn shop. And I ended up selling it for £8, and I netted, I think, £4 profit. And it hit me that I had just turned £1 into £5. Now, that is not always typical within the game, but for that one item, and it was because it was my first item, and I had sold 4 of them before I'd even realised I'd made a sale. I was like, so I've just turned £4 into 20 quid. I'm like, this is great. Let's go do this game. Let's take our 20 quid, multiply it up, let's go. And that's a very simplified concept of it. But I just loved that approach. I was like, right, the more you put into this, the more you do it. And because I'm so obsessed with it, and a lot of people consider it a side hustle and stuff, and it's side hustle attitude, side hustle results. Whereas I sat and read messaging forums, I was sitting in Facebook groups, I sit and read the Amazon terms of service and terms and conditions. Because if you don't know the rules, how do you know which ones you can break? So that's my sort of approach when you're playing the game. And that's what I've done. And I'm sure there's people out there are vastly more successful than me. I know people that are doing hundreds of millions a year in revenue on Amazon. I'm not doing that. But I've recently just finished building a warehouse. I've now got 2 warehouses. I've built this house. The house isn't finished, still needs painted, still needs groundwork done outside, but I've got a healthy, happy family. I live next door to my brother and my parents and other family members on down the road, siblings, and I've got a very nice life. And I have other friends that have laser focused on their business even more and have done a lot more revenue and profit. But I've tried to grow every aspect of my life as I've been growing. I haven't just been focused on the money in the bank. I've said to my wife on plenty of occasions, if it wasn't for you, I would have a nice Lamborghini about now. And she's like, yeah, but you'd have probably crashed it too. So, so I've yeah, she's something. But it's that sort of thing of I haven't just tried to focus on the pound notes. I've tried to build every aspect of my life along the way. So
That's how
that's what it's
success
about.
is found, right? It's not about if you're like, listen, if you're just heading for money, 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 you're going to find failure in the end. But if you're heading based off building a proper lifestyle for you and you're making it well-rounded in all aspects, you're going to find success. It may not be the success as Joe Blow down the road, but who freaking cares? Because like you said, Joe Blow might be getting divorced and his kids hate him. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you're making, maybe $1 million or $100,000 less than him, but you're happy. You've got a great life. You've got everything you need in front of you, right? And so that's a juxtaposition that people need to understand. Money isn't everything. So when people think, "Oh, I want great wealth, I want this, I want that." Yes, but what are you willing to give up to get that? Because money isn't easy to come by. Big business isn't easy to create. You have to dedicate your entire life to growing. And if you have a family, you can't do that without sacrificing them to the goal, right? And the fact that you didn't do that, I think, is brilliant because you probably have a well-rounded life, a happier life compared to others who are after the almighty dollar,
I fully agree with that. Like, it's funny. It's still too early days for this, but I remember we were reading a quote a while back that said, "Success is your adult children wanting to spend time with you."
Yeah.
And it's sort of always stuck because you have to provide them a life that they've appreciated and that's good. But it's the whole holistic approach. Like, you could be incredibly wealthy but not have your health. Some of my biggest profitable days on Amazon to date, I've been sick and you're sitting looking at numbers on a screen going, I don't care. Where if I had been in good health, you'd have been screaming from the rooftops to look at that amount of money. But I'm like, I'm sick, I don't care. So to have your health, to have your family around you, to have security. So like, I built a business now that, again, and come back to, you can do whatever you want if you're prepared for the consequences. I built quite a nice position where, okay, I don't choose to go out and say ignorant things to people, but if I do, I don't have to worry about them phoning my boss and, getting fired. I don't have to worry about too many people and how they think about me. And it's incredibly liberating that I can go every day, I can go to my own place of employment, I can generate my own wealth, building my own life and doing it on my own terms. I still have to sort of maintain social norms to some level, but it's still quite freeing.
Yeah, and it's so freeing. I know for myself, being in my own business is fantastic. And just a few months ago, I remember I put up a post talking about people working their asses off and put the effort in and stop belly aching and stop spending so much time on yourself and spend more time on your business. And then after that, I got sick. Directly a week after I wrote that post, my body went, well, screw you, girl. You're putting too much in. I was working 15-hour days, not taking any breaks. And my post came back to bite me in the ass. And I've since realized that, no, I can't. The money isn't everything. Yeah, my business is thriving. Yeah, we are becoming incredibly successful here. But at what cost? I was starting to lose me. So I had to go off and take a break. And since I took that break, I realized, yep, I do need more breaks. And so I've been taking more breaks. Instead of working 15-hour days, I've now shut it down to 10-hour days. And I just only work the 10. And even if I don't work the 10, I'm not beating myself up anymore like I used to, and that's a huge change. And I'm finding I'm feeling better. I'm loving myself more. And guess what? The money didn't stop coming. In fact, I started to make more money as soon as I became authentic to myself. It was a huge change on that. So when we get back from break, we're actually going to talk about your Amazon and how you're helping other people when we get back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hey, Eamonn. So let's tell everybody how the heck do they get in touch with you if they want to start building their Amazon business? Because, let's first of all, let's talk about what you help people do in Amazon. What do you do? This is how you get a hold of him, by the way. So, guys, this is how you get a hold of him.
So what I do is I buy already branded items and resell them on the Amazon platform.
Yep.
So anything from chocolate, toothpaste, biscuits, a lot of fast-moving consumer goods. I also have my own listings on there and doing my own private label stuff. That sort of came by, you could say, a series of fortunate events. I was doing my own thing. Again, I was quite active in a lot of Facebook groups, and a couple of people had reached out to me over the time. One of the people that reached out to me then ended up setting up their own coaching business, and they asked me to be a part of it. They were incredibly young and decided after 3 years they wanted to go off and do other things, and decided they were selling the business. And I was like, again, I don't want to be working for somebody, so I did it to you. I did it with you because you were a friend. Somebody else who I may not know coming in to buy this business and me being an employee, that's not happening. So myself and another guy bought out the business, so we now own it, and we now do the coaching to help people start, scale, and grow their Amazon business. If that is running around Walmart or Tesco's, buying things in clearance and flipping it, back up to wholesale level and private label, we cover the whole spectrum. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Qualified teacher, master's in communication, so I'm somewhat qualified to assist with that. And yeah, I've been at it since sometimes around 2000, I believe. I've been involved.
Lovely. So how many people are coming to work with you so far?
So I believe it's somewhere over the 650 marketing clients we've had to date.
Nice.
Some, as previously mentioned, do it as a side hustle. Other people do it full time and have several local and international staff working for them. And we have clients in Ireland, UK, Canada, North America, Mexico, Germany, Australia, Thailand. Assuming there's a couple other places I've missed, but yeah, we're quite spread out. We're not just quite geo-specific.
Right. So how long does it take to do your program if they're going to come learn from you?
So our program, these people would usually sign up for a 12-month program. But let's be realistic. 1 year running a business, you're still only trying to find your feet. You've done your first set of tax returns. There's still so much to learn. We have people that have been in the course now 3-4 years. They're still engaging. They're still contacting me. For VAT, which is sales tax for American and Canadians, that legislation only changed within Amazon a couple of months ago. So that subject knowledge is changing. So every week I'm still trying to improve my own subject knowledge so that I can then help other sellers. So it's not like hey, this is a 6-week course, one and done. I know there's some people who go, hey, 90 days will get you where you need to be. That's a nonsense. It simply doesn't work. The 4-hour work week, passive income, again, it's all nonsense. This, like any business, it takes consistent time and effort if you want to see true, realistic, honest results.
I agree, because even with my company, we tell people we bring people in for 90 days. In 90 days, your life will start to change, but you will not manifest everything. It'll take about a year before you start to see full changes, full manifestation, full everything. And that's only if you put the work in. Right. And so that's what people need to understand, that, you're going to start to see changes right away in your life. You might start to make a few dollars. You might make a few sales, but it's going to take a long while, because you got to go through the pitfalls. And that is like this. It's a roller coaster when you're in business, even with us, like, you start making some money, and then it pitfalls, because maybe you picked the wrong product in your case, or whatever, that product's not selling or whatever. You've got to figure it out. You've got to work with your mentors. You've got to go through tax season. You've got to go through a whole pile of things, all the holidays, all of these sorts of things. January, where you may not make much money. You have to understand that all these things happen when you're in business. It's not just smooth sailing once you get started. And that's what a lot of people think, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people think, because I see so much in social media of people saying, I made X amount in 2 days, it's dead easy, and you're going, turnover and profit, two very different things. And as you grow, the challenges you face change. So what you knew and are able to achieve last week, that's maybe not going to help you next week. So you still need to sort of learn to adapt and overcome those. So that is why, we're not saying it's a 30 or 90 day course. This is something where it's an ongoing support, because it's a community. Like, just because I'm the coach doesn't mean I know absolutely everything. And there is times when people go, hey, here's a solution to a problem that's recent. Here's how you solve it. So we try and grow together.
Oh, I love that you have a community there too. That's fantastic. So again, let's put up the banner so people know where to reach you. And you know what? Like, if you want help on how to start your Amazon business, let's call on Eamonn, because a year of your time is not that long when you really consider it, especially in today's days. I don't know if anybody else is feeling this, but I feel like time's flying freaking by. I feel like one week goes by, but really it's been a year that's passed, and I only feel like it's been a week. It's like, what the frick happened to all my life? It's going fast. So if you really think 1 year is too long, then don't call Eamonn. But if you think 1 year of your life to struggle to make something amazing, then he's your guy. Because guys, this is how you do it. You don't go to the one who has the big flashy sign that says, oh my God, look at all the beautiful things I can get you fast, because that person's usually the snake oil salesman, right? And we don't want to go to that snake oil salesman. You want to go to the person who's actually going to teach you hands-on what to do, how to do it, who's going to help you through the pitfalls, who has a community to help you with all of this stuff. And that's Eamonn, guys. So thank you for coming to the show, Eamonn. And everybody,
very welcome.
I'd love for you to go to him to start your Amazon business. And if you guys are feeling insecure about yourself, and maybe you don't think you have the superpowers to do it on your own, you can always come to me for hypnosis, so that you can learn that, yes, you do in fact have all the superpowers. You could take our Stepping Up Your Life course, which is going to help you to figure yourself out. And there's the website down below, which you can contact me for some one-on-one hypnosis as well, guys. This is how it's done. You use me first to give you the balls, the machismo, the pushpa, if you will, to get going in the entrepreneurial world. And then you go to Eamonn to get the skills in order to start the career and make all of that money. So everybody, thank Eamonn for coming to the show today. Thank you so much. It's been a fantastic show, and we learned a lot from you, actually. And your mindset has been absolutely incredible your whole life. And I can see you being an absolute success for the rest of your life if this continues. So congratulations to you. And thank you for sharing this all with my guests.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, thanks for coming to the show. Be love, show love, share love. And again, that doesn't mean you have to be all love. It just means you have to be open to it. Thank you. See you next week.
This has been the Vibe Vault with host Chris Carrier. Join us each week as we delve into the journeys of remarkable people and talk to specialists about innovative